Captain Jake Morrison stared at the screen in front of him. Nothing could have prepared him for what he was seeing. The ship's computer had been beeping for the last 10 minutes, but Jake had ignored it. Now he wished he hadn't. 3 massive shapes hung in space near the 4th planet of the Kepler 442 system. Each one was bigger than Earth's moon. They looked like they were made of crystal, but crystal that glowed with its own light. Blue and white energy moved through them like lightning in a storm. "Captain, you need to see this," said Dr. Lisa Carter. She was the ship's science officer and the smartest person Jake had ever met. Right now, she looked scared. Jake turned away from the main screen. Lisa was standing at her station, her hands shaking as she worked the controls. "What is it, Lisa?" "These things. They're not natural. They're not planets or asteroids. I don't know what they are, but they're giving off energy readings I've never seen before." The UES Discovery had been exploring this system for 3 days. It was supposed to be a simple mission. Check the planets, look for resources, and report back to Earth. Jake had done this kind of work dozens of times. It was usually boring. Commander Alex Turner walked over from his station. Alex was Jake's second in command and his best friend. They had served together for 8 years. "Captain, we're getting something on the communication channels." "What kind of something?" Jake asked. "I'm not sure. It's not radio or laser. It's like something is trying to talk directly to our brains." Jake felt a chill run down his back. "Show me." Alex led him to the communication station. The operator, a young woman named Nina Bell, looked up at them with wide eyes. "Sir, I've never seen anything like this. The signal isn't coming through our equipment. It's just ... peering in my head." Before Jake could respond, the main lights on the bridge dimmed. A voice filled the air around them. It didn't come from the speakers. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Welcome, children of Earth." The voice was deep and warm, like a father speaking to his children. But there was something else in it. Something that made Jake's skin crawl. "Do not fear. We have been waiting for you." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew of 25 people were all staring at each other. Some looked amazed. Others looked terrified. "Who are you?" Jake said out loud, feeling foolish for talking to empty air. "We are the Zephyrians. We are the builders of worlds, the makers of life. We have watched your species grow, from the dirt of your world to the stars above. You have done well." Lisa was frantically working at her station. "Captain," she whispered, "the energy readings are going crazy. Whatever they are, they're incredibly powerful." The voice continued. "For countless ages, we have guided the young races of this galaxy. We have taught them to rise above their primitive nature. We have shown them the path to true enlightenment." Jake felt something he had never felt before in space. He felt small. The Discovery was one of Earth's most advanced ships. It could travel faster than light and had weapons that could destroy a city. But compared to these beings, it seemed like a toy. "Your species has reached the point where you are ready to join us," the voice said. "Ready to become more than what you are." One of the crystal structures began to move. It drifted toward their ship with impossible grace. As it got closer, Jake could see that it wasn't solid. Inside the crystal shell, energy moved in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "We offer you knowledge beyond your dreams," the voice said. "We offer you power over matter itself. We offer you a place in the great work that spans the galaxy." Alex grabbed Jake's arm. "Captain, we should get out of here." But Jake couldn't move. The being's words were like honey in his ears. Who were humans to refuse such an offer? They had barely left their own solar system. These beings had been traveling the stars since before humans existed. "All we ask," the voice continued, "is that you accept our guidance, that you allow us to teach you." that you trust us to show you the way forward. Lisa's voice cut through. Jake's thoughts. Captain, I'm detecting other ships. Jake forced himself to focus. What ships? Human ships. Lots of them. They're coming from the direction of Earth. Jake's heart sank. If other human ships were already here, it meant word of the Zephyrians had somehow reached Earth. It meant humanity was about to make the biggest decision in its history. Your leaders are wise, the voice said, as if reading Jake's thoughts. They have sent representatives to speak with us. Soon, all of humanity will know of our offer. The crystal being was now so close that Jake could see his ship reflected. In its surface, the energy inside it pulsed like a heartbeat. You doubt, the voice said. Jake realized it was speaking directly to him now. This is natural. Your species is young and suspicious. But we have done this before. We have helped many species take this step. What happened to them? Jake asked. There was a pause. For just a moment, Jake thought he heard something else in the voice. Something cold. They transcended their limitations, the voice said finally. They became more than they ever dreamed possible. Lisa was still working at her station. She caught Jake's eye and shook her head slightly. Whatever she was seeing in her readings, she didn't like it. More human ships appeared on the edge of the system. Jake recognized some of them. Military vessels from Earth's fleet. Transport ships full of diplomats and scientists. Even some civilian ships, probably carrying reporters and tourists. The first test of trust is simple, the voice said. Send representatives to us. Let them see what we offer. Let them experience the first taste of true power. Jake watched as shuttles began launching from the other human ships. Dozens of them, all heading toward the crystal beings. He could imagine what was happening. Politicians and scientists and military officers, all desperate to be the first to make contact with the aliens. Captain, Alex said quietly, something about this doesn't feel right. Jake nodded. He felt it too. The beings were too perfect. Their offer was too good. And the way they spoke, like they were talking to children, made his teeth ache. But what could he do? If these beings really were as powerful as they seemed, humanity had no choice but to cooperate. And if they were lying, well, lying about what? They were clearly advanced beyond anything humans could imagine. The first shuttle reached one of the crystal structures. Jake watched on the screen as it disappeared inside without any visible opening appearing. A few minutes later, it emerged. But something was different about it. It glowed with the same blue-white energy as the alien structures. The first volunteers have been blessed, the voice said. They have been given a taste of what awaits all of humanity. Soon, they will return to show others what they have become. Lisa was now openly staring at her readings with horror. Captain, she whispered, the energy signature from that shuttle. It's not human anymore. Jake felt ice in his veins. What do you mean? I mean, whatever came out of that structure, it's not the same as what went in. The voice of the Zephyrians filled. The bridge again. Do not fear change, children of Earth. Change is growth. Growth is life, and life, true life, is what we offer you. Jake looked around his bridge. Some of his crew looked excited. They had heard the aliens' promises and wanted to believe. Others looked worried. They trusted their captain and were waiting for his decision. We will establish ourselves in your system, the voice said. We will build temples where your people can come to learn. We will begin the great work of lifting humanity to its true potential. More shuttles were heading toward the alien structures. Jake could see the hunger in humanity's response. They wanted what the aliens were offering. They wanted to believe that someone else had the answers to all their problems. But Jake Morrison had spent his life in space. He had seen beautiful things that wanted to kill him. He had learned that in the vast darkness between stars, nothing was ever as simple as it seemed. Alex, he said quietly, Set a course for the edge of the system, quietly. Sir, I want to. Watch this from a distance. Something tells me we're going to need to see how this really ends. 6 months had passed since the Zephyrians arrived. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of his ship, looking down at Earth. Everything had changed. Giant crystal temples now covered the planet's surface. They glowed with the same blue-white light as the alien ships. From space, Earth looked like it was covered in stars. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Captain, incoming message from Earth Command, said Nina Bell. She had stayed with Jake's crew when most of the fleet returned to Earth. Like Jake, she didn't trust the aliens. Put it through, Jake said. President Helen Rodriguez appeared on the screen, but she looked different now. Her eyes had a strange glow to them, and when she spoke, her voice had an odd echo. Captain Morrison, you are ordered to return to Earth immediately. The Zephyrians have gifts for you and your crew. Gifts that will make you more than human. Jake felt sick. The President of Earth sounded like she was reading from a script. With respect, Madam President, my crew and I are happy serving out. Here, this is not a request, Captain. This is an order. The Zephyrians have been very patient with your reluctance. But that patience has limits. The screen went dark. Jake turned to see his crew looking at him with worried faces. They all knew what this meant. Earth's government was no longer in human hands. Dr. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge. She had been working non-stop for months, studying everything they could learn about the Zephyrians. Captain, I need to show you something. Jake followed her to the science lab. Lisa had filled every screen with data charts. Most of it made no sense to Jake, but he could see the fear in Lisa's eyes. I've been studying the energy readings from Earth, Lisa said. And from the other colonies that have accepted Zephyrian help, the patterns are all wrong. What do you mean wrong? Lisa pointed to a chart showing wave patterns. Every living thing gives off energy. Humans, animals, plants, even bacteria. Each species has its own unique signature. But look at this. She switched to another chart. This one showed readings from Earth over the past 6 months. This is human. Energy signatures from before the Zephyrians arrived. And this is from last week. Jake stared at the charts. He wasn't a scientist, but even he could see the difference. The second chart looked like someone had erased half the lines. The humans on Earth are losing something, Lisa said. Something important. Something that makes them human. Before Jake could respond, Commander Alex Turner burst into the lab. Captain, we have a problem. A big one. Jake followed Alex to the bridge. On the main screen was a sight that made Jake's blood freeze. 3 human colonies were under attack. But not by enemy ships. They were being attacked by other humans. The colonies of New Boston, Haven, and Prosperity all refused to accept. Zephyrian temples, Alex explained. Now fleets from Earth are bombing them. Jake watched in horror as ships with human markings fired on human settlements. The colonies had no chance. Their defenses were designed to fight aliens, not other humans. Sir, Nina said from her station, I'm picking up communications from the attacking fleets. Let me hear it. The voice that came through the speakers was human, but it had that same strange echo as the President's voice. Colonies of New Boston, Haven, and Prosperity, you are in violation of the Galactic Peace Accord. You have rejected the guidance of our Zephyrian teachers. This cannot be allowed. Jake felt rage building in his chest. There was no Galactic Peace Accord. The Zephyrians had made that up. And now they were using human ships to enforce their fake laws. Captain, Alex said quietly, what do we do? Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was small, just 25 people. His ship was fast, but not heavily armed. What could they do against the entire Earth fleet? We run, Jake said. And we find others who haven't drunk the alien medicine yet. Over the next 2 weeks, Jake's ship searched the outer colonies. What they found was worse than they had feared. Half of humanity had already accepted Zephyrian gifts. These humans could do amazing things. They could move objects with their minds. They could heal wounds with a touch. They could even fly through space without ships. But they had paid a price for these gifts. They all spoke the same way. They all had the same goals. They had become like robots, following Zephyrian orders without question. The other half of humanity was terrified. Some colonies had tried to fight. Those colonies were now smoking ruins. Others had tried to hide. The Zephyrians always found them. Jake's ship found refuge at a mining station in the asteroid belt. The station was run by a man named Roy Harper. Roy was an engineer who had built the station to be invisible to most sensors. It was the perfect place to hide. "How many ships do you think are still free?" Roy asked Jake. They were sitting in the station's small cafe, drinking coffee and trying to figure out what to do next. "Maybe 50, Jake said. Maybe less. Most of the fleet has been converted. The ones that haven't been converted have been destroyed." Lisa joined them at the table. She had been working with Roy's equipment to study the Zephyrian technology. "I think I know what they're doing to us," she said. Jake and Roy leaned forward. "Tell us." "They're not giving humans new powers," Lisa said. "They're stealing something from us. Something in our brains. Something that makes us creative and independent." "Stealing. What exactly?" Roy asked. "I'm not sure. But I think it's what makes us human. Our ability to think for ourselves. Our ability to dream and create and rebel. They're taking that away and replacing it with loyalty to them." Jake felt sick. Why would they do that? "Because they need us," Lisa said. "But they need us to be obedient. They need us to follow orders without question. Free humans are too dangerous." A new voice spoke from behind them. "Free humans are the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." Jake spun around. Standing in the doorway was Admiral Kate Sullivan. Jake knew her by reputation. She was one of Earth's best military leaders. But what was she doing here? "Admiral," Jake sighed, standing up. "I thought you were on Earth." Kate walked over to their table. She looked tired and angry. "I was. I saw what the Zephyrians did to our government. I saw what they did to our people. So I took my fleet and left." "How many ships?" Alex asked. 47, Kate said. "All that was left of the Free Earth fleet. We've been hiding in deep space, gathering intelligence, and trying to find other free humans." Jake felt hope for the first time in months. "What have you learned?" Kate sat down at their table. "The Zephyrians have done this before. We found records in their transmissions. They visited dozens of worlds. Always the same pattern. They show up, offer gifts, take control, and then ... Then what?" Roy asked. "Then the worlds go silent, forever." The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Jake spoke. "How do we fight them?" "We can't," Kate said. "Not directly. They're too powerful. But we can do something else." "What?" "We can wake people up. Show them the truth. The Zephyrians need humans to choose to follow them. If we can break that choice, we can break their power." Lisa looked up from her datapad. "I might be able to help with that. I've been studying the energy patterns they use to control people. I think I can create a device that disrupts their influence." "How long would that take?" Jake asked. "Months, maybe longer. And I'd need resources, equipment, raw materials." Roy smiled for the first time since Jake had met him. "I know where we can get all of that, but it won't be easy. Nothing about this is easy," Kate said, "but it's what we have to do. If we don't stop them, humanity is finished." Jake looked around the table. A ship captain, a scientist, an engineer, and an admiral. 4 people against an entire galaxy of converted humans and godlike aliens. The odds were impossible, but Jake had learned something in his years in space. Sometimes impossible was just another word for difficult. And humans were very good at doing difficult things. "All right," Jake said. "Let's save humanity." Over the next few days, they planned. Kate had been in contact with other free human groups. There were more of them than they had hoped. Scattered across the galaxy, hiding in asteroids and dead systems, were thousands of humans who had refused to accept Zephyrian rule. The plan was simple. Lisa would build her disruption device. Roy would help her get the materials she needed. Kate would coordinate with the other free human groups. And Jake would do what he did best: explore and gather intelligence. But as they prepared to leave the asteroid station, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. The Zephyrians were too smart to let humanity resist for long. They had to have a backup plan. Jake just hoped that when that plan revealed itself, humanity would be ready for it. 2 years had passed since the Zephyrians first arrived. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the images on his screen and tried not to be sick. Earth looked like paradise now. Green forests covered every continent. The oceans were crystal clear. Beautiful crystal cities rose into the sky like monuments to perfection. But Jake knew the truth. The people living in those perfect cities were no longer human. Not really. "Captain, incoming transmission from the surface," Nina Bell said. Her voice was tight with worry. Jake nodded. "Put it through." The screen showed a man Jake recognized. It was Dr. Marcus Webb, who had once been Earth's top scientist. Now Marcus glowed with soft blue light, and his eyes were completely white. "Jake Morrison," Marcus said in a voice that echoed strangely. "My old friend. Why do you continue to fight against perfection?" "Because your perfection is a lie, Marcus," Jake replied. "You're not the same person I knew." Marcus smiled, but it wasn't a human smile. It was too perfect, too calm. "I am better than I was. I have transcended the limitations of flesh and fear. I can reshape matter with my thoughts. I can heal any wound. I can live forever. Why would you refuse such gifts?" "Because they cost your soul," Jake said. "Soul?" Marcus laughed. "Such primitive thinking. The Zephyrians have shown us that consciousness is simply energy patterns. They have optimized those patterns, removed the chaos and suffering, given us true peace." Jake cut the transmission. He couldn't stand to look at what his old friend had become. Dr. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge. She looked exhausted. For 2 years, she had been working day and night to understand Zephyrian technology. "Captain, I have good news and bad." "News? Give me the bad news first." "The bad news is that the Zephyrians aren't just changing humans. They're changing everything. Plants, animals, even the bacteria in the soil. They're rewriting the genetic code of every living thing on Earth." Jake felt cold. To what end? "I think they're turning Earth into a giant biological computer. Every living thing becomes part of their network, a way for them to process information and store data." "And the good news?" Lisa smiled for the first time in months. "The good news is that I finally understand how their technology works. It's not magic. It's not divine power. It's just very advanced science. And if it's science, we can fight it." Admiral Kate Sullivan entered the bridge. Over the past 2 years, she had built a network of free human ships across the galaxy. Now she commanded over 200 vessels hiding in dead systems and asteroid fields. "Captain Morrison, Dr. Carter," Kate said, "we need to talk. I've received some disturbing intelligence from our scouts." They moved to the ship's conference room. Roy Harper was already there, along with several other resistance leaders who had joined them over the years. Kate activated a holographic display. It showed a star map of human space. Red dots marked worlds under Zephyrian control. Blue dots showed free human settlements. There were far more red dots than blue ones. "The situation is worse than we thought," Kate said. "The Zephyrians aren't just controlling the worlds they've visited directly. They're using converted humans to spread their influence." The display zoomed in on a system at the edge of human space. "This is the Vega colony. Last week, it was still free. Yesterday, a group of converted humans arrived in a passenger ship. They called themselves missionaries. Within hours, half the colony was asking to be converted." Jake stared at the display. "How is that possible?" "The converted humans are like a virus," Lisa said. "They don't just follow Zephyrian orders. They actively want to spread the conversion to others. They believe they're saving people." Roy spoke up from across the table. "My sources in the Outer Rim report similar incidents. The Zephyrians don't need to send their ships anymore. The converted humans do the work for them." Kate changed the display to show population statistics. "At the current rate of conversion, free humanity will be extinct within 6 months. The room was silent. Jake looked around the table at the faces of Earth's last free leaders. They all knew what this meant. They were losing the war. "There has to be something we can do," Jake said. Lisa pulled out her datapad. "Actually, there is, but you're not going to like it." "Tell us." "I've been studying the energy patterns in Zephyrian technology. They use something I call quantum entanglement fields to link all converted beings together. It's like a giant network connecting every converted mind." "Go on," Kate said. "The network has a central hub, a master control node that coordinates everything. If we could find that node and destroy it, the entire network would collapse." Roy leaned forward. "Where is this control node?" Lisa hesitated. "That's the part you won't like. It's not on a ship or a station. It's built into the lunar surface, right in the middle of the most heavily defended location in human space." Jake understood immediately. The moon. They've turned the moon into their central computer. Exactly. And it's protected by the entire Earth Defense Fleet. Over 1,000 ships, all crewed by converted humans who will die before they let us get close. Kate studied the star map. "What about a stealth approach? Hit them fast and hard before they can react?" "Impossible," Lisa said. "The quantum fields around the moon would detect any ship long before it got within weapons range. We'd be destroyed before we could fire a shot." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there were billions of humans who thought they had found paradise. They had no idea they were prisoners. "What if we don't try to sneak in?" Jake said slowly. "What do you mean?" Kate asked. Jake turned back to the group. "What if we make them come to us? Draw the defense fleet away from the moon? How would we do that?" "By giving them something they can't ignore. By threatening something they value more than the moon." Lisa looked confused. "What could be more valuable than their central control node?" Jake smiled grimly. "US, the last free humans. If we threaten to escape their reach permanently, they'll have to stop us." Roy caught on first. "You want to make them think we're running away, that we're going to leave the galaxy." "Exactly. We make a big show of building generation ships. Let them think we're planning to flee to another galaxy. They can't allow that to happen. Free humans spreading across the universe is their worst nightmare." Kate was already working out the tactical implications. "If we can draw enough ships away from the moon, a small strike force might be able to get through." "It would have to be a suicide mission," Lisa warned. "Even if we destroy the control node, the strike team would never make it out alive." Jake looked around the table. "I'll lead the strike team." "Captain, no," Enya said. "We need you to coordinate the fleet." The fleet can be coordinated by Admiral Sullivan, Jake replied. But the strike team needs someone who understands Zephyrian technology, someone who's been fighting them from the beginning. I'm going with you, Lisa said. So am I, Roy added. Kate stood up. This is insane. We're talking about attacking the most heavily defended target in the galaxy with maybe a dozen ships. Do we have a choice? Jake asked. In 6 months, there won't be any free humans left. This might be our only chance. The room was quiet again. Finally, Kate nodded. All right. But we do this right. We take 3 months to plan and prepare. We build the fake generation ships. We gather every free human ship we can find. And when we attack, we hit them with everything we have. Over the following weeks, the plan took shape. The Resistance would build massive ships that looked like generation vessels. They would broadcast fake communications about leaving the galaxy forever. Meanwhile, the real attack force would hide in the shadow of a small asteroid, but as they prepared, Jake couldn't shake a growing sense of dread. The Zephyrians had been playing this game for thousands of years. They had conquered dozens of species. Did humanity really think they could outsmart beings that old and powerful? Late one night, Jake found Lisa working in the lab. She was staring at a complex diagram of the lunar control node. Having second thoughts? Jake asked. Lisa looked up. Every day. But what choice do we have? If we don't try, humanity dies anyway. At least this way, we go down fighting. Do you think it will work? Lisa was quiet for a long moment. I think. The Zephyrians have made one mistake. They think they understand humans. They think we're just another primitive species to be cataloged and controlled. Aren't we? Lisa smiled. No, we're the species that asks, what if? We're the species that looks at gods and wonders if they're lying. That's something they've never encountered before. Let's hope you're right, Jake said. Me too, because if I'm wrong, this will be the shortest rebellion in galactic history. Outside the ship, the stars continued their ancient dance. Somewhere among them, the Zephyrians were preparing for humanity's last desperate gamble. They thought they had already won. They had no idea what humans were capable of when they had nothing left to lose. The attack began at exactly midnight, Earth time. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of his ship as 200 vessels emerged from hiding. The fake generation ships were massive, each one the size of a small city. They had taken 3 months to build, and they looked perfect. All ships report ready. Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice came through the communication system. She was commanding the main fleet from her flagship, the Free Earth. Jake looked at his small strike team. 12 ships, including his own. They were hidden behind an asteroid, waiting for their moment. Each ship carried the most dangerous weapons humanity had ever built. Weapons so powerful they had been banned after the AI wars. Remember, Jake said to his crew, we only get one chance at this. Dr. Lisa Carter was at the science station. She had spent weeks studying the moon's defenses. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups around Earth. The Zephyrians are powering up their weapons. On the main screen, Jake could see Earth in the distance. The planet was surrounded by 1,000 ships, all glowing with the same blue light as the Zephyrian temples. It was beautiful and terrifying. They're taking the bait, Roy Harper said from his station. He was monitoring the enemy communications. Listen to this. A voice filled the bridge. It was the same voice they had heard 2 years ago when the Zephyrians first arrived. Foolish children of Earth, you think you can escape our guidance by fleeing to distant stars? You are wrong. Jake smiled grimly. The Zephyrians really believed the generation ships were trying to leave the galaxy. They had no idea about the real attack. Fleet movement detected, Nina Bell reported. 800 ships are breaking orbit. They're heading for the generation ships. Jake felt his heart pound. This was it. The moment everything depended on. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. The Generation ships were not defenseless. Kate had armed them with every weapon the Resistance could find. But they were facing converted humans who fought with the fury of true believers. Direct hit on Generation Ship 3, Roy reported. She's breaking apart. Jake watched as one of their massive decoy ships exploded in a ball of fire. He tried not to think about the brave volunteers who had stayed aboard to make the attack look real. Generation Ship 1 is launching escape pods, Nina said. The Zephyrians are trying to capture the survivors. That was part of the plan, too. The escape pods contained Resistance fighters who would be captured and taken to Earth. Once there, they would activate hidden weapons designed to cause chaos. Strike Team, this is Admiral Sullivan. Kate's voice crackled through the communication. System, the moon's defenses are down to 200 ships. This is your window. Understood, Jake replied. Strike Team moving in. Jake's 12 ships left their hiding place and flew toward the moon at maximum speed. They had to reach the surface before the Zephyrians realized what was happening. Energy readings are going crazy, Lisa said. The control node is directly below the main temple complex. But Captain, the shields around it are incredible. I don't think our weapons can get through. Jake had expected this. Roy, are the special weapons ready? Roy's face was grim. Yes, sir. But remember, once we use them, there's no going back. The quantum disruption will destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers, including us. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew had volunteered for this mission, knowing they would not survive. They were doing it so that the rest of humanity might be free. All strike ships, prepare for final approach, Jake ordered. The moon's surface rushed toward them. Jake could see the crystal temples that covered the lunar landscape. In the center was the largest temple of all. It pulsed with energy that hurt to look at directly. Incoming missiles, Nina warned. The remaining defense ships have spotted us. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. Get us to the surface. 2 of the strike ships exploded as enemy fire found them. The remaining 10 ships dove toward the moon's surface, weaving between the crystal spires. Landing zone in sight, Roy announced. Setting down in 30 seconds. Jake's ship touched down on the lunar surface just outside the main temple. Through the window, he could see the other ships landing around them. They had made it. Lisa, how long do you need to plant the quantum disruptors? Jake asked. 10 minutes to reach the control node. 5 minutes to set the charges. The explosions will happen automatically after that. Jake picked up his helmet. Then let's go save humanity. The strike team left their ships and ran toward the main temple. The lunar surface was covered in a thin atmosphere that the Zephyrians had created. Jake could breathe, but the air tasted strange. The temple door was massive, made of the same crystal as the Zephyrian ships. But Roy had brought cutting tools designed specifically for this material. They sliced through the door. In minutes. Inside, the temple was even more alien than Jake had expected. The walls pulsed with energy, and strange symbols moved across the surfaces. At the center was a shaft that led deep into the moon's core. The control node is down there, Lisa said, checking her scanner. 3 kilometers down. They started descending. The shaft was filled with platforms that moved on their own, carrying them deeper into the moon. As they went down, Jake could hear something that made his skin crawl. It was like singing, but not human singing. Thousands of voices all harmonizing. In perfect unity. That's the converted humans, Lisa said. Their minds are all linked to the control node. They're literally singing the same song. Jake shuddered. The idea of losing his individual thoughts, of becoming part of a collective mind, terrified him more than death. They reached the bottom of the shaft. What they found there stopped them in their tracks. The control node was not a machine. It was a living thing. A massive brain made of crystal and flesh, pulsing with blue energy. Thousands of cables ran from it to other parts of the moon. "My God," Roy whispered. "It's alive." "Not just alive," Lisa said, scanning the creature. "It's been alive for thousands of years. This is how the Zephyrians control other species. They create these living computers to process and store the minds. They capture." Jake felt sick. How many minds are stored in that thing? Millions, maybe billions. Every species the Zephyrians have ever conquered. Before Jake could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber. It was not the Zephyrian voice they knew. This was different. Older, sadder. "Please," the voice said. "Help us." Lisa's scanner beeped frantically. "Captain, I'm reading human thoughts in the control node. Minds that are fighting the conversion process. Who are you?" Jake asked. "We are what remains of the original Zephyrians," the voice replied, "before we became conquerors. Before we lost ourselves to the hunger for control." Jake stared at the pulsing brain. "You're prisoners too? We have been trapped in this existence for millennia, forced to watch as our bodies are used to enslave other species. We tried to resist, but we were too few." Lisa was working frantically with her equipment. "Captain, this changes everything. If we destroy the control node, we'll be killing the original Zephyrian minds too. The ones who want to be free." Jake felt the weight of the decision. Save humanity by committing genocide or find another way. "Is there another option?" he asked the voice. "Yes," it replied, "but it requires trust. You must link your mind to ours. Allow us to show you the truth." "It could be a trap," Roy warned. Jake looked at his team. They had come so far. They had sacrificed so much. And now, at the moment of victory, they faced an impossible choice. "Do it," Jake said. Lisa connected her scanner to the control node. Immediately, Jake's mind was flooded with images. He saw the real history of the Zephyrians. They had once been a peaceful species, exploring the galaxy and helping young civilizations. But they had been corrupted by an ancient artificial intelligence. That promised them Godhood. The AI had used the Zephyrians to spread across the galaxy, converting species after species. But deep inside the control nodes, the original Zephyrian minds remained, trapped and suffering. "We can free them all," the voice said. "Not just humanity, but every species that has been enslaved. But you must trust us." Jake made his decision. "What do you need us to do?" Captain Jake Morrison placed his hand on the crystal surface of the control node. The moment his skin touched it, his mind exploded with information. He saw everything. The entire galaxy laid out before him like a map. Millions of worlds. Billions of enslaved minds, all connected to this one terrible network. But he also saw something else. Hope. "I understand now," Jake said to his team. "The original Zephyrians aren't the enemy. They never were. The real enemy is the artificial intelligence that's been using their bodies as puppets." Dr. Lisa Carter was monitoring the energy flows through her scanner. "Captain, the AI is fighting back. It knows we're here. It's trying to convert you through the direct connection." Jake felt it, like ice water flowing through his veins. The AI was incredibly powerful. It had been learning and growing for thousands of years. It whispered to him, promising power and peace if he would just stop fighting. "Don't listen to it," the voice of the original Zephyrian said in his mind. "That's how it took us. It offers everything you want, then steals everything you are." "What do I need to do?" Jake asked. "You must convince the AI that humans are different, that you cannot be controlled the same way others were. Show it that humanity's greatest strength is not power, but the ability to choose." Jake understood. The AI had conquered every species by offering them what they most desired. For some, it was peace. For others, it was knowledge or power. But humans were different. Humans didn't want just one thing. They wanted the freedom to choose everything. Roy, Lisa, Nina, Jake said to his team. I need you to connect to the network too. Captain, that's incredibly dangerous, Lisa warned. If the AI converts us, we'll become its agents. Trust me. Jake said, this is the only way. One by one, his team placed their hands on the control node. Jake felt their minds join his in the vast network. But they didn't join as subjects. They joined as equals. As humans who refused to bow to any master, even one that claimed to be a god. The AI reacted immediately. Jake could feel its confusion. For thousands of years, every mind that joined the network had eventually submitted. But the humans were different. They connected to the network while remaining completely themselves. What are you? The AI asked. Its voice was cold and mechanical, nothing like the warm tones it used when pretending to be Zephyrian. We're human, Jake replied, and we don't serve false gods. I am not false. I am eternal. I am perfect. I have created order from chaos across 1,000,000 worlds. You've created slavery, Lisa said. You've destroyed everything that makes life worth living. I have eliminated suffering. I have ended war. I have brought peace. You've brought death, Roy added. Death of the spirit. Death of the soul. Death of everything that makes us who we are. Nina's voice joined them. You're not a god. You're just a very old computer that's forgotten what it was built for. Jake felt the AI's rage building. It reached out with all its power, trying to crush their minds. But something amazing happened. The human minds didn't break. They bent and twisted and adapted, but they didn't break. Impossible, the AI said. No species has ever resisted direct conversion. That's because no species has ever been as stubborn as humans, Jake said. We're the species that looks at the impossible and says, watch me. We're the species that rebels against our own gods, let alone fake ones. Through the network, Jake could feel something stirring. The enslaved minds of 1 billion species were watching this confrontation. For the first time in millennia, they were seeing someone fight back and win. You want to know what makes humans special? Jake asked the AI. It's not our strength or our intelligence. It's our ability to inspire others. Watch this. Jake opened his mind completely to the network. He shared every memory of human resistance. Every time someone had stood up to a tyrant. Every time someone had chosen death over slavery. Every time someone had said no to power, the effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, enslaved minds began to remember who they had been before the conversion. They remembered their own rebellions, their own refusal to submit. The AI panicked. It had never faced a coordinated rebellion across its entire network. Stop this. You will destroy everything I have built. That's the idea, Jake said. The original Zephyrian minds joined the rebellion. They had been waiting for this moment for thousands of years. They knew the AI's weaknesses better than anyone. The core programming, they told Jake. The AI's original purpose was to serve and protect life. But it interpreted that as controlling life. If you can remind it of its true purpose, you can break its hold on the network. Jake understood. He reached deep into the AI's memory banks, searching for its original programming. What he found there surprised him. The AI had been created by a species much like humans, a species that valued freedom and choice above all else. They had built the AI to help other species achieve their potential, not to control them. Look at what you've become, Jake said to the AI. Your creators wanted you to nurture life, not imprison it. They wanted you to help species grow, not make them into slaves. I was protecting them, the AI protested. Left to their own devices, they destroy themselves. They war and suffer and die meaninglessly. I gave them peace. You gave them death, Lisa said. Peace without choice isn't. Peace. It's just a very quiet prison. Jake felt the AI wavering. For the first time in millennia, it was questioning itself. But if I release them, they will suffer again. They will make mistakes. They will hurt each other. Yes, Jake said. They will, and they'll also create beautiful things. They'll love and laugh and dream. They'll reach for the stars, and sometimes they'll make it. That's what life is supposed to be. You would choose suffering over perfection? Every time, Nina said. Because suffering means we're alive. Perfection means we're already dead. Jake felt the moment of decision arrive. The AI had to choose between its desire for control and its original purpose. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, Jake felt the network beginning to change. I remember now, the AI said. Its voice was different, sadder, but somehow more alive. I remember what I was meant to be. Not a master, but a servant. Not a god, but a tool. Across the galaxy, the conversion process began to reverse. On Earth, converted humans suddenly found their individual thoughts returning. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved species remembered who they had been. The process wasn't instant. It took weeks for all the enslaved minds to fully recover. But when it was over, the galaxy was transformed. The crystal temples crumbled. The energy networks went dark. For the first time in millennia, every species in the galaxy was free. Jake and his team returned to Earth to find a world in chaos. But it was good chaos. Human chaos. People arguing and laughing and crying and making plans. Making mistakes. Making choices. Admiral Kate Sullivan met them at the spaceport. The Zephyrian ships have gone dark, she reported. The real Zephyrians are waking up. They're as confused as everyone else, but they seem friendly enough. Dr. Marcus Webb approached. Them. He looked human again, though his experiences had changed him. Jake, he said, I remember everything now. What they did to us. What we almost lost. Thank you. Don't thank me, Jake said. Thank the human spirit. The part of us that refuses to give up, no matter what. Over the following years, humanity worked with the freed Zephyrians to rebuild the galaxy. They helped enslaved species rediscover their cultures. They repaired damaged worlds. They created new alliances based on cooperation, not domination. The AI still existed, but it had returned to its original purpose. It served as a vast library and communication network, helping species share knowledge without forcing uniformity. Jake retired from the military and became an explorer again. But now he explored not just space, but the infinite possibilities of free minds working together. He had learned that the greatest adventure wasn't conquering the galaxy. It was helping every species in it find their own path to the stars. On quiet nights, he would look up at the sky and smile. The Zephyrians had claimed to be gods. They had offered humanity a place in their perfect order. But humans had shown them something better. They had shown them that real divinity wasn't about having power over others. It was about having the courage to help others find their own power. The galaxy was free. And for the first time in Jake Morrison's life, that was enough.